Stylish Naija YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. Thank you guys for subscribing to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. Thank you for your love, for your support. If you are new to the channel, you are highly and very welcome. If you have not subscribed, please, I would appreciate if you hit on the subscribe button and then hit on the bell on the side also to get an update whenever I upload a new video. If you are new, you are highly welcome. I greet you specially. Okay guys, in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to cut this unique neckline so you can take a look at them. You find out that these necklines are not really regular neckline. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do today with those measurements, standard measurement that we're going to use, how to achieve them, okay, properly. So that's what we're going to do. If you want to register for my online classes, you can just see my number scrolling through the screen. You can send me a message on WhatsApp. I'll give you the details of the classes we have available. And then you can follow me on all of my social media platforms, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, all at Stylish Naija. All right, guys, so now let's get started. So most times, if you check through my channel, you find that I have a lot of, as in different neckline videos. And sometimes some people, they come and they will like, how do you achieve these necklines on bustiers? So the truth of the matter is the different people, they have their different patterns of cutting. So most times me, the way I normally cut, once I cut on my pattern and then transfer on my fabric, I usually don't add necklines on my patterns. You understand? I don't cut out my necklines. Even if I draft it on the pattern, I would not cut it out. I'll cut the dress, that's the bodice, finish sewing it, and then after taking out the darts, and that is where I will now come in and insert that neckline. So this pattern, I've been using it for a long time and it has been working perfectly well. So most of these unique necklines, when you are making them for bustiers, don't, when you are cutting after drafting your bustier pattern, don't include the neckline. You can draft it, just leave it there. After joining your bodies on the dart, that's after joining the bustier part on the dart, that's when you will now include the neckline. So this actually makes it easier for you to be able to achieve. So I hope you understand. So I'm trying to put emphasis on that so you will know. Okay, so in today's class, we're going to be doing 4 unique necklines. So the first thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to cut out a back neckline. So I already have my pattern here. So I'm making use of this fabric. So for the neckline, in today's class, the width that we're going to be making use of, we're going to make use of 3.5 inches. That's going to be for the width. So all of the patterns, all of the necklines, their width is going to be 3.5 inches. So that's it. They have to correspond. And then the depth for the back and the front, the depth differs. So for this, we're just going to use 3.5 of 1 inch. That's for the back neckline. So I'll just mark it like this and then I'll cut this out. So this is for our back neckline. We're going to use it for all of the patterns. Okay, so this is for our back neckline. The next thing we're going to do now, we're going to start drafting our necklines. Okay guys, so we're going to cut out our first neckline now after cutting out the back. So this one we're cutting now is the one that looks like a pear. So we're going to use the same 3 inches wide that we use for the back neckline, 3.5. So I'll mark my 3.5 here like this. After marking my 3.5, so I'm going to determine how deep I want the neckline to be. So if you notice, the neckline actually came down a little bit. So I'll use 7.5 inches. So it's going to enter into 7.5. You can make it more deeper. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to take from this point, I'm going to come in on this side by 1 inch. So why I'm coming in by 1 inch is because I want to make a curve. Let the curve come to this point. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'll come to this point again and then check how much I want my curve to be. That's the other one on the side. So I'll determine that. So for that, I'm going to use 4.5, which is okay. So I'll just, from this point now, I'll create that curve. Make sure that that curve enters into this part because that's the width of your neckline. And then I'll use my pattern curve like this. I'll curve it to that point, that 4.5 inches part that I marked like this. I'll curve it in like this, and then from this 4.5 inches mark, I'll curve I'll curve this one now to this point. So I'm just trying to elongate it a little bit more. I'll place this like this, and then I'll curve it into this point like this. So I'll use my hands to highlight it nicely. So whatever you do, just make sure that it terminates on that 3.5 inches part. So the next thing now, we're going to cut this out and see how it is. So like I said, if you are making it for a bustier, make sure that you are finished joining your darts before you include the neckline. So guys, so you can see what we have. So if you want yours to be wider, you can just increase it. We use 3.5, you can use 4 inches. So you can see it came out really fine and beautiful. So we are done for this. So the next one we're going to cut the petal neckline. So we're going to use the same 3.5 inches width that we have been using. So I'll mark 3.5 here. So for this petal neckline, what you would do, you first of all create out a square neckline. So from this point, you're going to determine how deep you want the neckline to be. So for this, I'll make use of 7.5 inches. So that's 7.5 inches. I'm just going to create a square. This is actually not a square. This is a rectangle because this side is longer. So I'll create this out. And then after creating this out, we're going to measure. You're going to check what you have. So you can just put lines at intervals where you're going to create the petal spots on. So this actually makes it easier. So I'm just using about 1 inch interval. So you can use 1.5. So it depends on how you want it. So from this point, I'm just going to start creating curves to this point. So I'll create the curve to this point, and then from here, I'll create the second one here. So I'll just keep creating them. So I'll first create them first like this, and then this I'll create to this, and then this, and then this. So this last one, I'm going to mark it out nicely. So for this, if you want to turn it with a lining, I would advise for you to use about 1.5 inches or 2 inches. So you'll be able to sew it and turn it nicely. If not, it's going to be very difficult for you. So I'm going to cut this open now and then see what I have. So for the width, for the wideness, for mine, you can say I used about 1 inch. So if you want them big and bold, you can use 1.5 inches. So I'm going to open this up now so you can see how it looks. So you can see it really looks beautiful. You can do this neckline in any form. If you want it on a round surface, you can do that also on a round surface. So all you are going to do is just create out the round surface. That you just create out the round neckline like this. As you create a round neckline instead of a square, you create it out as round like this, and then you go ahead and mark them just the same way I did now. So I'm just using my free hand to make this fast, and then you mark them. So I'll cut this round one out also. Let's see how it looks like. So guys, and then the third neckline is the one that has like arrows or sharp edges. So the next thing we're going to do now, you know that we're using our unique 3.5 inches wide for this. So I'll mark my 3.5 inches here. So after marking my 3.5 inches here, that's for the width. The next thing is the depth of the neckline. So for the depth of the neckline, you are going to determine how deep you want it to be. If you notice, this one has something like a yoke inside because it is really deep. So for this, I'm just going to add I'm going to use about 7.5 inches. So 7.5 inches is great. I'll add the 7.5 inches here. And then on this point here, on this edge, so I'm just going to mark a round neckline. So I'm just using this as a guide. Please note, of about 1 inch. I just want to mark this as a guide. I'm actually not going to cut this out. So the next thing now, from this point, I'm going to determine how the one on the center, that's like the pear part on the center, you're going to determine how wide you want it to be. So for this, 1 inch is okay. So that's why I had to use this as a guide. So 1 inch is okay. So that 1 inch, I'm just going to curve it into this point like this. So you will determine how wide you want it to be. So this is 1 inch. So when you open it, it's going to be 2 inches. So I'll curve it in like this. And then from this point now, you're going to determine how you want the sharp part of the neckline to be. So from this, I'm going to make like an angle on this part. So I'll determine how I want my angle to be. So I'm the one that will determine that. So for this, I'll come on this point like this. I'll mark 5 inches. So for this kind of neckline, it's good for you to use a pattern first. Check it out, and then make sure it is okay. So from this point now, I'm just going to create that curve into this part, and then on this edge like this, that's the edge of my neckline. So I'll create it like this. So you make sure that that place you use it as guide, don't just cut. That's why you use this as a guide. And then I'll create my V on the side like this. So now we're going to cut this out and see if what we have is okay. So note that this top part, we're not cutting out this top part. I'm going to explain this neckline more. So cut outside so it's not too big. Make sure you just cut outside all of the lines. So you can see what we have. So this, what we have here, this part is looking too high. So we're going to reduce it a little bit more. And then I'll deepen this side a little bit with 1/2 inch. So you can see what we have now. So it looks like what we have there. So make sure you check, just make sure that this part. So for the back neckline, so for this, I'm going to use the back neckline as guide so you'll be able to see. So you place them like this between the back and the front, and then if you notice that the back of that neckline has a collar. So you can just fix the collar here like this, just fix a round collar, and then you'll be able to achieve that neckline perfectly. Just cut a small round collar and then add it on the back part, so you can see the neckline is perfect. So you see, make sure that the measurements are the same. So the next thing now, we're going to cut out the fourth neckline, which is like the last. So we're going to measure our 3.5 inches again. We use it as guide. So this actually serves as a guide. So that's the 3.5 inches. So for this neckline, you are going to determine how deep you want it to be. So that depends on you. So for the depth of the neckline, I'm going to come with 6 inches. So that 6 inches, just watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a curve here. So this curve is just like a guide. It's not like I'm really using it. So it comes just like a guide here. I'll just mark it around, but I'm actually not making use of this now. So the next thing I'm going to do now, come I'll open this up. I'll mark it also on this side of my pattern. I'll mark the 3.5 on this side of my pattern also. And then I'll just go ahead, I'll open this up. So after opening this up, now I'm the one that will determine how much height I want. But everything that I'm doing, I'm going to float them into the armhole area. So I'll come to this part. So it depends on how much I want that sharp edge on my neckline to be. So for this, I'm just going to come with about 3 inches. That's the width, the 3 inches depth, which is okay. So that 3 inches depth is what I'm going to do. That 3 inches depth, you're just going to create a slope, just create it into the armhole area like this. That's like float it into the armhole area. After floating it into the armhole area, the next thing you are going to, from this point, you are going to float it into this armhole area. So if you want it to be deeper, like I said, if you want it to be deeper, you can come down. You can decide to come down by 5 inches, depends on what you want, and then from this point you float it into this point. So if you notice, it is a straight, like straight neckline. So I'm going to float this like this. So I'll float it and then create that angle, that unique angle. Someone actually sent me this neckline. Okay, so now we're going to cut this out right now. So I'm going to show you now how to achieve that sleeve. So I'll just use my pattern. I'll use my pattern paper for this, just to do a little bit of the illustration for you, how you will fix if you want to use the sleeve. So you can see, after fixing your sleeves, you can see how the neckline area is going to be. So the sleeve is going to be fixed like this on the side. So it depends on the sleeve. If you want to use it as a bust here, as a tube, you can actually use it as a tube. If you want to fix sleeve, you can fix sleeve on it. All right, guys. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. If you find these videos helpful, this necklines helpful, I would appreciate if you hit on the like button. And if you have not subscribed to Stylish Naija YouTube channel already, please subscribe. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you in my next video. God bless you. Bye.